Researches in brain development, multiple intelligences, and learning styles have caused us to rethink how students should be taught. The increasing and ever-changing amount of information being discovered has caused us to rethink what we want for the students to learn. These changes have profound effects on the life of the learners and need to be addressed accordingly. In this video, we will discuss what are the elements of information literacy and how does it affect and constitute to the changing views of education. We will also explain the resulting changes in teaching practices that are required for information literacy instruction. To clarify, this video is just the second part of our information literacy discussion. You may check our part 1 on the link on this video description below. So, information literacy, the defining paradigm of modern education. Information literacy, to define it, is the ability of knowing how to find the information, evaluate it, and use it wisely and effectively. Examples would include applying the critical thinking criteria every time you read the news or a magazine. This is either print or online. Conduct research, read for work or pleasure such as books. Information literacy means being able to triangulate or find three distinct different sources to increase the likelihood of information being accurate. It is also the ability to identify different types of information on news reports, commentary, personal blog, monetized professional blog, research journal, peer-reviewed journal, etc. etc. So essentially, it is the skill of taking in information with a wariness to spot inaccuracies, especially in statistic or any type of language used. A person with a good level of information literacy would be able to spot fake news, for example, a questionable news sources, be able to use search engines effectively to find a good quality information, evaluate resources for trustworthiness and quality and reliability, and also publish literature is a bonus. So those are some of the benefits of having a good level of information literacy. Now, what has become the reason information literacy becomes the defining paradigm of modern education? Simply, one of the possible answers is globalization. Globalization has transformed the world as we know in every aspect. Countries, culture, education has become increasingly interconnected and interdependent. It made the world economy increasingly competitive and so as more knowledge-based. So with globalization, there are increasing challenges for knowledge, education, and learning. Now let's go on the changing views of education according to Thompson and Henley. The first one is on learning. Learning is now perceived as a process, not a product. People do not quit learning when they leave school. Instead, they remain as lifelong learners. So basically what this is trying to say is learning does not only takes place inside a classroom. The next one is we have the curriculum. Now, objectives are flexible, taking individual and cultural differences into account. Current events, local resources, and students' interests are also taken into account as the curriculum objectives and are adjusted to make learning relevant. Third one, we have the classroom. The classroom is viewed as an environment where active learning takes place. Classroom must be conducive to learning and encourages students to become self-reliant and responsible for their own learning. And then we have the information. Educators today realize that the students need to be actively involved in seeking information, using it in some way as they create their own unique concepts of knowledge based on previous understanding and experiences. And then we have the students themselves. The students today are viewed as information seekers, information users, decision makers, and problem solvers. What they learn depends on what they need to know to make decisions or to solve a problem. Then we have the teachers. Now, teachers are the facilitator of learning process and are constantly learning as they work collaboratively with other teachers, library media specialists, community members, and even overseas teachers via internet. Then we have the assessment. Now, projects of all sorts are the rule. Authentic assessments are intended to gauge what students learn by measuring how well they use the information such as portfolios, presentation, and written reports. Then we have the library and the librarians. Library media centers are designed to provide not only efficient storage but also the equal access to information and convenient retrieval of it. Library media specialists now work cooperatively with teachers to plan the units they will integrate to hone the literacy skill into subject area curricula. And then lastly, we have the methods of teaching. The identification of information literacy skills needed for lifelong learning and thinking promotes the change in what is taught. Let us try to compare the old teaching methods versus the teaching methods we currently have. Then we have only a lecture-based discussion which is not tend to engage the students actively to form a more healthy discussion. Today, of course, we have the active engagement of the students. Then we have only individual efforts. Now we have group efforts form of activities. Then we only have subject as it is. Now we have the integration. Then we only present facts or spoon feeding they called it. Now we have the problem centered where the learning takes place on the student's own discovery. Then we have the sage on the stage. Now we have the guide on the stage. Then we only have only spoken or written activities. Well, today we have all resources students are free and shall use. Then we have what they call the 3 R's or the recall, recognize, and retain. While now we have the authentic assessment or the portfolio. Then we have the insular programs or where the learning only involves the students himself. More likely does not stretch out outside his comfort zone. Now we have the community collaboration. What are the educational implications that can be drawn from having a good level of information literacy? The first is information literacy skills are vital to fully participate in and contribute to the world we live in. The next one is becoming information literate will involve a change from the way many students are accustomed in learning. The third one, the impact of moving from text-based to resource-based learning will involve the heavier use of material and a demand for more and varied media resources including print and non-print. Next is teachers must be prepared to teach students to become critical thinker, intellectually curious observers, creators, and users of information. And then we have the goal is to prepare the students to learn how to learn. And lastly, the school's integration of information literacy skills across the curriculum. To sum up, we have discussed what information literacy is, then the elements of the said changing paradigm of modern education, wherein we have learning, the curriculum, classroom, information, students, teachers, assessment, libraries and librarians, and the methods of teaching. We have also compared the old teaching methods versus the new teaching methods, and lastly, we have the educational implications. And for the last part, why does information literacy becomes important generally is that information literacy empowers people in all walks of life. Evaluate, use, seek, create information effectively to achieve their personal, social, occupational, and educational goals. It is basic human right in digital world and promotes social inclusion in all nations.